The first sign something was wrong was the silence. Noah was not a quiet child. He narrated everything: his toys, his thoughts, the injustice of bedtime. Silence from him was unnatural, ominous. The kind of silence that made your chest tighten before your brain caught up. I found him on the couch, curled strangely, his little chest rising too fast, too shallow. "Noah," I said, already moving. His lips were pale. That's when panic punched me in the throat. Hey, buddy, look at me," I said, scooping him up. His body was too light, too limp. His breathing stuttered, like his lungs were forgetting how to work. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone. Emergency services, address, words spilling out wrong and fast. By the time the ambulance arrived, Noah's breathing had gone thin and reedy, each inhale a fight. I climbed in with him, clutching his hand like I could physically keep him here if I held tight enough. "It's okay," I whispered, even though nothing about this was okay. "Appa's here. Appa's got you." The hospital lights were too bright, too white. They burned against my eyes as they rushed us inside, voices overlapping, machines beeping like they were arguing with fate. 5-year-old male, respiratory distress, possible cardiac involvement. "No known conditions," I said hoarsely. He's never been sick like this." Someone asked for his name, his age, allergies. I answered automatically, my brain floating somewhere above my body. Then someone said, "Dr. William is on call." The world tilted. I looked up, and there he was, standing at the foot of the bed like nothing in this world could shake him. Tall, broad, dressed in scrubs that fit like they were tailored out of spite. His expression was calm in that terrifying way doctors get when things are very, very serious. My stomach dropped through the floor. Oh, good. Fate didn't just slap me. It booked a private consultation to ruin my life. Of all the hospitals, of all the nights, of all the doctors. Him. I hadn't seen William in years. Not since one night that rewrote my entire life and then vanished like it had never existed. My fingers tightened around Noah's. "Please don't look at me. Please don't recognize me. Please." "Move!" William said briskly, stepping in. "Oxygen saturation is dropping." His voice. God. That voice. Cold. Controlled. Professional. He didn't look at me. Not even once. William moved like a force of nature. Orders snapped. Nurses responded instantly. Machines whirred to life. He leaned over Noah, checking vitals, pupils, breathing. His focus absolute. I stood there uselessly, clutching the side of the bed, heart slamming so hard I thought I might pass out. "Sir," a nurse said to me gently, "we need you to step back." "I'm his father," I said automatically. William's head lifted, just slightly. His eyes flicked to me, brief, assessing, impersonal. Then back to Noah. "Appa," Noah whispered weakly. I leaned forward. "I'm here. I'm right here." William's hands stilled for half a second. He looked at Noah more closely now. Too closely. Something in his gaze sharpened, not recognition, but curiosity. His brow furrowed. Then he straightened. "Prep Board 2, he said. "Possible congenital complication triggering respiratory collapse." Congenital. The word slammed into me. "No," I said. "No, he's always been healthy." William finally looked at me fully. His eyes were dark, focused, unreadable. "We won't know until we intervene," he said. "Right now, he's unstable." I swallowed. You're the doctor?" "Yes." No flicker of recognition in his eyes. Nothing. Amazing. I carried his kid, nearly died, and he remembers me like a forgotten email draft. He turned back to the team. "Get imaging, blood gases. I want cardiac on standby." Noah coughed, a thin, terrifying sound. I reached out instinctively, brushing his hair back. William's gaze snapped to my hand, then to Noah's face, then back to me. For a heartbeat, something strange passed between us. Not memory, but tension. His jaw tightened. "You," he said to me, curt. "What's your name?" "Charlie," I replied. Any family history of heart or lung disease? No. Anything unusual during pregnancy? The question hit like a slap. I stiffened. No, I said firmly. William nodded, already turning away. Of course, he didn't remember. Why would he? To him, I was just another Omega in an ER, another terrified parent, another face blurred by years of cases. But to me, he was the man who once held my hand when I was shaking apart, and now he held my son's life between his fingers without knowing why it felt familiar. They wheeled Noah toward surgery fast, too fast. I jogged alongside, my heart somewhere in my throat. A nurse shoved a clipboard into my hands. Sir, we need consent for emergency intervention. There are risks. I stared at the form. Words swam. Cardiac catheterization. Possible open procedure. Risk of complications. My hand shook as I held the pen. William stopped in front of me. Up close, he was worse, sharper, more overwhelming. His presence filled the hallway like gravity had decided to concentrate in one place. He looked at the form, then at Noah, then back at the form. His gaze lingered on Noah's face longer than necessary. His nostrils flared subtly. Scent. Recognition without knowing. What? I snapped, fear spilling into irritation. If you're about to say this is dangerous, sir, please know my life already peaked 5 years ago. William blinked. Actually blinked. Something unreadable crossed his face. This procedure carries risk, he said carefully, but without it. He dies, I finished. So yes, do it. I signed. My signature was messy, barely legible. William watched my hand move. Then he looked at Noah again, really looked. The shape of his eyes, the line of his nose, the stubborn set of his jaw even while unconscious. His expression tightened. Prep him, William said quietly. They took Noah from me. Just like that. The doors to the OR swung open, then closed. I stood alone in the hallway, staring at my empty hands. My knees buckled and I sank into a chair. I pressed my palms together, breathing shakily. Please, please let him live. From behind the OR doors, machines beeped steadily. Inside, William scrubbed in, his mind focused, but something gnawed at him. That child, that Omega, that scent that tugged at something buried deep in his chest. As the surgical lights flared to life, one thought crossed his mind. Unbidden, dangerous. Why does this feel personal? And miles away from where I sat praying, steel and skill cut into fate itself. The surgery had begun. Hospitals have a special way of making time meaningless. Minutes stretch into hours, hours collapse into seconds. The clock on the wall becomes decorative, mocking, deeply unhelpful. I sat in a plastic chair that had seen better decades, my hands clasped so tightly together my fingers had gone numb. Across from me, a vending machine hummed ominously, stocked with snacks I could not emotionally process at this time. Noah was behind those doors, on an operating table, with his chest open. I swallowed hard and leaned forward, pressing my elbows into my knees. Okay. Breathe. In. Out. You have done harder things than this. That was a lie. Nothing was harder than this. I squeezed my eyes shut and immediately saw William's hands, steady, precise, moving over Noah's small body as if nothing in the world could possibly shake him. I hated that it comforted me. I hated that it scared me. I swear if this man saves my son just to emotionally destroy me later, I will haunt his career. Not metaphorically, spiritually. I will be a lingering presence in every operating room, whispering, "Remember that Omega," every time he reaches for a scalpel. A nurse walked past. Another family cried softly down the hall. Somewhere, a baby wailed, healthy lungs loud and alive. I pressed my fist to my mouth. Please. I thought about Noah at 4 years old, trying to help me cook and nearly setting the kitchen towel on fire. About him at 3, insisting he could dress himself and emerging wearing one sock and my scarf. About the way he climbed into my bed every night without fail, like sleep wasn't safe unless we shared it. I had raised him alone. Every fever, every nightmare, every scraped knee and bad dream. I had promised him I'd always be there. And now I was sitting in a hallway, useless, while someone else fought for his life. My leg bounced uncontrollably. I glanced up at the red light above the operating room doors. Still on. Still closed. I laughed weakly under my breath. Of course it had to be William. Of course fate dragged him back into my life like this. 5 years ago he vanished without a trace. Now he was elbow deep in my son's chest cavity. Life really commits to its themes. I scrubbed my hands down my face. Please, I whispered, to no one in particular. Please let him live. Exchange my life. Give my heart. Without him this heart even won't beat. I didn't hear William approach. I felt him. The air shifted. The hallway seemed to hold its breath. I looked up, and there he was, still in scrubs, surgical cap off, hair damp with sweat, his face pale but composed like he'd locked everything dangerous behind steel walls. He stopped a few feet in front of me. "Charlie," he said. My heart slammed. I stood so fast the chair screeched backward. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. William inhaled once, controlled, deliberate. "Your son will live." The words hit me like a physical force. I laughed, a sharp, broken sound. Then I cried, not quietly, not gracefully. I folded in on myself, hands covering my face as sobs tore out of me like I'd been holding my breath for years instead of hours. He's alive. He's alive. Noah is alive. I didn't care that people were staring. I didn't care that I was probably getting bodily fluids on hospital furniture. I cried like a man whose world had just been handed back to him. William froze, literally froze. He stood there like he had no idea what to do with the sobbing Omega unraveling at his feet. I dimly registered his hand hovering near my shoulder, not touching, unsure. "Charlie," he said again, softer this time. I sucked in a shaky breath and dragged my sleeve across my face. "I'm sorry," I choked. You don't need to apologize," he said quickly. He looked shaken, like my relief had cracked something in him. Why is he looking at me like I just confessed to arson? "Sir, I'm crying. Focus." I laughed weakly through tears. "I promise I'm not usually this dramatic. I mean, I am, but not in public." That earned a faint huff of air from him. Almost a laugh. Almost. "He's stable," William continued. "The complication was congenital, undiagnosed, rare, but manageable." Congenital. There it was again. I nodded rapidly. Okay. So what now?" "ICU," he said. "Monitoring. He'll wake soon." My knees finally gave out. I sat back down hard, my whole body shaking with delayed shock. William sat across from me. Not as a doctor, as a man who had just held my child's heart in his hands. "I've performed this procedure dozens of times," he said slowly, "but this one—" He stopped, swallowed. "Was different." I looked at him. Really looked. There were shadows under his eyes now, strain etched into his expression. "Thank you," I said quietly, "for saving him." His jaw tightened. "I did my job." "Yes," I agreed. "But you did it well." His gaze lingered on me longer than necessary. Something unreadable passed between us. Noah was still unconscious when they let me see him. Machines beeped softly. Tubes and wires everywhere. He looked impossibly small in the ICU bed. I brushed his hair back gently. "I'm here," I whispered. "You scared the hell out of me, naughty kid." William stood just inside the doorway, watching, not intruding. When I turned back toward him, he hesitated, then spoke. "Charlie," he said carefully. That tone, that careful tone. My spine stiffened. "Yes?" He took a breath. "I need to ask something," he said. "Medically relevant." "Ah, there it is. The emotional landmine. Step gently, Dr. Daddy." "Okay," I said, bracing myself. He met my eyes. "Who is the child's other parent?" The room felt suddenly too bright, too quiet. I smiled, too fast, too sharp. "Oh," I said lightly. "You know, someone." William didn't blink. "Charlie," I shrugged. He's not in the picture. That's not what I asked. I tilted my head. It's the answer you're getting. Silence stretched. William searched my face, not accusatory, but intent, like he already knew the answer and was afraid of it. I'll respect your privacy, he said finally. For now. I nodded. Thank you. He turned to leave, paused, then said quietly, I'm glad I could save him. I watched him walk away. My heart hammered in my chest, because I knew this was only the beginning. And the truth? The truth was coming for us both. Hospitals have a smell. Not the dramatic TV kind, not blood or antiseptic. It's paperwork. It's stress. It's the faint scent of coffee that's been reheated too many times. I was sitting beside Noah's ICU bed, watching his chest rise and fall like it was the most sacred thing in the world, when William walked in holding a tablet and a stack of printed reports. A stack. That was never good. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there, eyes scanning numbers like they might rearrange themselves out of guilt. His jaw tightened, relaxed, tightened again. Ah, there it is. Watching a genius realize he's an idiot is strangely therapeutic. I pretended to focus on Noah's IV line, but I was absolutely watching William out of the corner of my eye. He flipped a page, paused, flipped back, scrolled on the tablet, stopped. His fingers curled slightly around the edge of the paper. I knew that posture. I'd seen it once before, years ago in a different clinic, when he'd realized something had gone very, very wrong. Something wrong? I asked lightly. No, he replied too quickly. Routine. Sure. And I was the alpha king of denial. He glanced at Noah again. Longer this time. His gaze tracked the curve of Noah's cheek, the line of his nose, the stubborn crease between his brows even in sleep. Then, subtle but unmistakable, his nostrils flared. Scent. I stiffened internally. Oh no, not that. William took a slow breath through his mouth as if grounding himself. He returned to the paperwork. Blood type, genetics, congenital markers, dates, too many dates. I watched his shoulders square, then sag just a fraction. Math was happening, violently. You okay? I asked. He nodded once. Yes. Didn't look at me. Classic. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. You're doing that thing. What thing? The thing where your brain runs ahead of your mouth and leaves the rest of you behind to deal with the consequences. His lips twitched, barely. I don't do that. You do, I said, professionally. That earned me a glance, a real one, not doctor to parent, man to man. Something electric passed between us. He cleared his throat and looked back at the reports. I need to confirm some things, he said. Of course you do. His jaw tightened again. Charlie, he said carefully, did Noah ever have genetic screening done? No, I replied, because until last night he wasn't trying to die dramatically. William winced. I softened slightly. Sorry. Too soon. No, he said quietly. I deserved that. He made a note on the tablet, then another, then stopped. His thumb hovered. He looked at Noah again. This time, his expression wasn't clinical. It was unsettled, like standing on a familiar road and suddenly realizing you'd been there before, under very different circumstances. Noah woke up with a sigh, a small, disgruntled sound like he was annoyed at consciousness. I leaned forward instantly. Hey, buddy. His eyelids fluttered open, unfocused. Appa? He whispered. I'm here, I said, brushing his hair back gently. You're okay. He frowned slightly, then turned his head, right toward William. William froze, like a deer in headlights. Noah squinted at him for a long moment, then smiled. A small, tired smile. Tall doctor, he murmured. William inhaled sharply. Noah's little hand lifted, weak but determined, reaching. William didn't move at first. I stared at him. He stared at Noah. There was a split second where the entire universe seemed to lean in and whisper, "Choose." William stepped closer. Noah's fingers brushed the sleeve of his scrubs. "Dr. Papa?" Noah asked, voice soft and curious. My soul left my body. No, absolutely not. He does not get a nickname arc. I laughed too loudly. Nope, no. He's just the doctor, a very tall doctor. William looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He didn't pull away, didn't encourage it either, just stood there, perfectly still, letting Noah's small fingers curl into the fabric of his sleeve. The scent in the room shifted, warm, protective. Alpha. William's eyes darkened, not with dominance, but something far more dangerous. Attachment. Noah yawned and relaxed back against the pillow, his hand slipping free. William exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding his breath since birth. "That's enough excitement for today," I said gently, tucking the blanket up. "You rest." Noah nodded sleepily. "Stay?" "I'm not going anywhere." He looked at William again. "You too." William swallowed. I'll be nearby," he said. Noah smiled and drifted back to sleep. I turned slowly toward William. He was staring at his own hand like it had betrayed him. "Don't," I warned quietly. He looked up. "Don't read into that," I continued. "He's friendly. He once called a parking meter, sir." William huffed softly. But his eyes didn't stop searching Noah's face. The decision happened quietly. Dangerously quietly. I noticed it not because of what William said, but because of what he didn't. He ordered additional blood work, routine, expanded panel. "Just to be safe," he told the nurse. I met his eyes over the clipboard. "There it is. Sir, if you're about to discover you ruined my life twice, please sit down first." "Is that necessary?" I asked, keeping my tone light. William didn't hesitate. "Yes," I nodded slowly. "Okay." But inside? I was screaming. He moved closer to me, lowering his voice. "There are congenital markers I want to rule out," he said. "If there's a genetic predisposition..." "I understand," I replied. He paused. "You do?" I looked up at him, really looked. "You're not as subtle as you think," I said gently. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Fear. "I need to be certain," he said quietly. "I know," I replied. Silence stretched between us. The air hummed, scent layered over scent, his, mine, Noah's, braiding together in a way that made my omega instincts ache. William closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, his voice was steady. "I won't act on assumptions." I nodded. "Good, because assumptions ruin lives." He winced again. "I won't tell anyone," he added. I tilted my head. "Including me?" His jaw tightened. "Especially you," he said. "Fair." The nurse returned, drawing Noah's blood gently. Noah barely stirred. The vials were labeled, sealed, sent away. Processing time. 48 hours, the most dangerous number in existence. William watched them go like he was watching a ticking bomb get wheeled down the hall. I crossed my arms. "Well," I said lightly, "this is fun." He looked at me. "You're not angry." "Oh, I am," I replied. "I'm just tired, and if I start yelling, security gets involved." A ghost of a smile touched his lips, then faded. "If I'm wrong," he said quietly, "I'll apologize." "And if you're right?" I asked. He didn't answer. That told me everything. I looked back at Noah, sleeping peacefully. The machines hummed. The test was running. And somewhere between blood samples and buried memories, fate was sharpening its knives. The screen didn't change. That was the problem. It stayed there, glowing softly in the dim doctor's office, numbers crisp and merciless, as if statistics had decided today was a great day to ruin several lives. Paternity probability, 99.999%. William didn't blink, didn't move, didn't breathe, at least not that I could see. He just stared at the screen like if he looked long enough it might apologize. The room smelled like antiseptic and stale coffee. But beneath that, something else crept in. Sharp, metallic, familiar. Alcohol. rain, heat. The smell twisted suddenly, violently, dragging the present backward. The monitor beeped once, too loud in the quiet. William's hand tightened on the desk. "No," he whispered. My stomach dropped. Oh no. That face. That's the "I just emotionally time-traveled and regret everything" face. Congratulations, you've unlocked the panic silently achievement. I shifted my weight, arms folding instinctively. "Okay," I said lightly, because that's what I do when things implode. "Before anyone faints or confesses to crimes, let's remember Noah is alive. That's good. Let's anchor there." William didn't respond, his eyes unfocused. And then, he wasn't here anymore. Flashback. The conference hall had been too loud. Too many people. Too many voices congratulating him for being brilliant, unshakable, the future of alpha medicine. William had excused himself before the applause ended. He'd locked himself in the staff washroom and braced his hands on the sink, staring at his reflection like it had betrayed him. An hour earlier, a patient had died on his table. A child. He'd done everything right. And it hadn't been enough. That was the night he drank. The first time in years, not to celebrate, not to forget, to silence the noise. The alpha instincts he kept locked down had been restless, scraping at his ribs. Alcohol blurred the edges, lowered the walls. He remembered stumbling down the corridor, breath uneven, chest tight, panic setting in, sharp and humiliating. That's when you'd appeared, not glowing, not intoxicating, just safe. An Omega intern on night duty. Or maybe not even that. Just someone assigned to help, voice calm, hands steady. You'd smelled like clean cotton and warmth. You didn't push, didn't flirt, didn't try to fix him. You sat with him on the cool tile floor while his hands shook. "You don't have to be strong right now," you'd said softly. He remembered laughing, quiet, broken. You'd laugh too, not at him, with him. When it happened, it wasn't heat-crazed or desperate in the ugly way people whispered about. It was passionate, slow, careful, mutual. He grabbed my neck and started kissing my lips. It felt like being bitten by a hungry dog, but I liked it. That night, he remembered whispering, "Just stay." And you had. Later he was sleeping, and I needed to attend a call, perfect timing, so I went out. He was there until the emergency call came. "Wait here," he'd said, already standing. "I'll come back for you." But by the time surgery ended, by the time dawn crept in, you were gone. He'd searched, asked, checked rosters, nothing. You'd vanished like the night itself. He'd told himself you deserved better than his chaos, that it had been a mistake. The monitor beeped sharply. The memory shattered. William staggered back into the present, breath ragged. "I remember you," he whispered. The words weren't for me. They were for the past, for the man he'd been, for the life he hadn't known he'd made. I felt it then. The shift, the way his scent changed, not dominance, not possession, recognition, horror, love crashing into guilt at terminal velocity. "He's..." William breathed. His gaze flicked to the glass wall separating us from Noah's ICU room. "Mine." I stiffened. The word hit something deep in my chest. Oh no, this was happening. William sank into the chair like his bones had turned to sand. Hands in his hair, elbows on knees, breathing too fast for someone who'd just performed miracles hours ago. "I didn't know," he said hoarsely. "I swear. Charlie, I didn't know." "I know," I replied. He looked up at me, eyes wild. "You didn't tell me." "You disappeared and I thought you didn't want me, but realized later that you don't even remember us and it was too late," I shot back. "I was pulled away. And I was pregnant," I snapped. Silence. Heavy. He laughed once, sharp and ugly. "I failed him before he was born." I felt something snap. "No," I said, stepping forward. "No. You don't get to fall apart now. I already did that for both of us." He flinched. I leaned in, voice low and firm. "You don't get to spiral while my kid is hooked up to machines. Save it. Compartmentalize. Do your doctor thing." His chest hitched. Look at him. Alpha. Doctor. emotionally uninstalled. I thought you left, I continued quietly. I thought I was a mistake you forgot. William shook his head violently. Never. That's not comforting, I muttered. He looked like he wanted to touch me, to reach out. He didn't. Good choice. I don't deserve, he began. Stop, I cut in. This isn't about deserve. It's about now. A nurse knocked lightly on the door. Dr. William, we need you in ICU. He stood automatically, muscle memory. Before leaving, he looked at me again. I won't let him be hurt, he said. I nodded once. Good. The ICU was busier now. Monitors, nurses, a respiratory therapist adjusting tubing. I stood by Noah's bed, fingers laced with his. A nurse reached in a little too quickly, adjusting a line near Noah's chest. William reacted without thinking. Be careful, he said sharply, stepping forward and placing a hand between the nurse and the bed. That's my son. The room froze. The nurse blinked. The therapist went still. Another doctor looked up. I felt my soul leave my body. William realized what he'd said exactly 1 second too late. Silence stretched, heavy, public, unforgiving. He didn't take it back. Didn't soften it. Didn't apologize. He just stood there, hands steady, eyes locked on Noah. The words hung in the air like a declaration carved in stone. My son. I swallowed hard. Every eye in the room flicked between us. The nurse cleared her throat. Of course, doctor. William stepped back slowly. I stared at him. He finally looked at me. There was fear there, hope, and something fierce that made my Omega instincts shiver. The truth was out, not spoken, but heard, and nothing was ever going to be the same again. Hospitals don't keep secrets. They pretend to. They put up signs about privacy and confidentiality and professionalism, but secrets still leak through cracks like water. And this one flooded the place. I knew it the moment I stepped out of Noah's ICU room and felt the air change. Conversation stalled too quickly. Nurses looked at me, then away. Someone whispered behind a clipboard and pretended it was about medication. I caught fragments. That's his kid. Never mentioned. 5 years, can you believe? Opportunistic, probably. I stopped walking. Very slowly turned my head. The two nurses near the desk froze like they'd been caught stealing hospital pens. I smiled. It was not friendly. I love how I raised a whole human and still got called opportunistic. Incredible. I leaned against the counter casually. Just so you know, I said pleasantly, if you're going to gossip about me, at least get creative. I've heard gold digger before. Try mysterious temptress or evil Omega mastermind. One of them flushed. We didn't... Oh, it's fine, I interrupted. I cope with trauma using sarcasm and baked goods. You're just the appetizer. I walked away before they could respond, my hands shaking only once I was out of sight. Because it hurt. Not the gossip itself. I'd been judged my whole life for existing wrong. It was the implication. That I had planned this. That I'd waited 5 years just to ambush a powerful alpha with a child and a sob story. I pressed my palm to the wall and breathed. Noah was alive. That mattered more than whispers. Still, I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting. William found me near the vending machines, of course he did. He had a talent for appearing exactly when I was holding myself together with caffeine and spite. Charlie, he said quietly. I didn't look at him. Unless you're about to tell me that the vending machine finally dispenses something edible, I'm busy. I need to talk to you. I sighed. Of course you do. He gestured down the hall. Somewhere private. I followed him because, annoyingly, I wanted to hear what he had to say. We stopped in a small consultation room. The door closed softly behind us. William stood there for a second, hands clasped behind his back like he was bracing for impact. I won't disappear, he said. I laughed, actually laughed. Bold words from a man who vanished for 5 years. He didn't flinch. I know, he said, and you have every right to doubt me. That surprised me. He met my eyes. didn't look away. I didn't know about Noah, he continued, but now that I do, I won't repeat that mistake. Promises are cheap, I said. So are dramatic speeches. He nodded. Then judge me by actions. I studied him. He looked tired, wrecked, determined. He looked sincere. That's new. Terrifying, actually. The hospital staff is talking, he added quietly. I've shut down what I can. I snorted. Oh, don't worry. I noticed. His jaw tightened. I'm sorry. For what? I asked. The gossip or the 5 years of absence? Yes, he said. That shut me up. He stepped closer, but stopped himself, respecting the space. I will make this right, he said. Not loudly. Not by claiming you, but by staying. I crossed my arms. You keep saying that word like it's easy. It's not, he replied, but it's necessary. Silence settled between us. Then I said quietly, I don't want Noah dragged into pack politics. I won't allow it, William said immediately. He will be protected. And me? He hesitated just long enough to be honest. I want to protect you too, he said, but only if you let me. I exhaled slowly. We'll see, I murmured. He nodded. That's fair. Noah woke up cranky, which, honestly, was the most reassuring thing that had happened all day. He scowled at the ceiling, declared the hospital bed too loud, and demanded juice with the authority of someone who had almost died and now felt entitled. I helped him sit up, adjusting his pillows. William hovered awkwardly near the doorway, clearly unsure if he was allowed closer. Noah noticed immediately. Doctor, he said, squinting, you're tall. William smiled faintly. I get that a lot. Noah held out his arms. Come. I stared. William froze. Then, slowly, he approached. Noah leaned into him without hesitation, small hands gripping his shirt like they belonged there. Traitor. I fed you vegetables for years. William melted. There was no other word for it. His shoulders relaxed. His breath hitched. His hand came up instinctively, resting gently against Noah's back like he'd done it 1,000 times. I'm sorry, William whispered. I should have been there. Noah blinked at him seriously. Did you get lost? He asked. William let out a shaky laugh. Yes, I did. Noah nodded, satisfied. Okay, you're here now. Just like that. No blame, no resentment. I felt my throat tighten. William looked at me over Noah's head, eyes shining with something dangerously close to tears. I'm sorry, he said again. To both of you. I swallowed. We're not forgiving you yet. He nodded. I know. Noah yawned and rested his head against William's chest. William didn't move, didn't breathe, just held him like the world might end if he let go. I watched them, my son and the man who shared his blood, and felt something complicated settle in my chest. Fear, hope, exhaustion, family. Outside the room, the world whispered and judged and speculated. Inside, Noah was safe. And William wasn't leaving. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And that, terrifying as it was, felt like the beginning of something real. William did not raise his voice, which honestly was worse. I was sitting beside Noah's bed, spoon-feeding him pudding that he insisted was medical chocolate when the air in the ward shifted. People stopped talking, not gradually, all at once. I looked up. William stood near the nurse's station, posture straight, shoulders squared. Not aggressive, not loud, just unavoidable. The kind of stillness that made instincts curl and submit without permission. A group of staff stood in front of him. Someone had clearly said something they shouldn't have. I caught the tail end of it. Conflict of interest? Special treatment? Omega. William didn't interrupt. He waited until they finished. Then he spoke. Any disrespect toward them, he said calmly, goes through me. Silence dropped like a body. I stared. Sir, you skipped apology and went straight to territorial nightmare. One of the doctors cleared his throat. Dr. William, You were speculating, William replied, about my patient, my son, and his other parent. That word, son, still hit like a shockwave every time. William continued, voice steady, cold enough to freeze doubt in place. This hospital runs on professionalism. If you can't manage that, you won't be working in my department. No threats, no raised tone, just fact. Someone swallowed audibly. I won't tolerate whispers, William added. I won't tolerate judgment, and I won't tolerate anyone treating them like leverage or spectacle. He paused. If you have concerns, he finished, bring them to me. Otherwise, be silent. The staff dispersed like smoke. William turned, and only then did he look at me. I raised an eyebrow. Well, I said lightly, that was subtle. His jaw flexed. I may have overcorrected. May? I snorted. You declared war. I declared boundaries, he replied. I shook my head. You're terrifying. I'm aware. Despite myself, something warm twisted in my chest. Still, I wasn't letting this slide. Later that evening, Noah was asleep. Properly asleep this time, breathing deep and even, machines reduced to background noise instead of threats. William and I stood near the window at the end of the hall. Quiet, private, dangerous. You didn't have to do that, I said, arms crossed. Yes, he replied immediately. I did. I turned to face him. You're not my alpha. His eyes didn't waver. I know. You don't get to posture like you own us. I wasn't posturing, he said quietly. I was protecting. I laughed without humor. Those two look identical from the outside. He stepped closer, but stopped himself, hands clenched at his sides like restraint was a conscious effort. I never forgot you, he said suddenly. I blinked. That wasn't where I expected this to go. I looked for you, he continued, for months. I checked rosters, asked quietly. I thought you chose to leave. Ah, yes. The tragic misunderstanding arc. Classic. Still hurts. My life is dramatic. It is ultra pro-K dramatic. I thought you regretted it, I said flatly. No, he said, voice rough. I thought you deserved better than someone who brought chaos wherever he went. I scoffed. Congratulations, you succeeded. I got poverty and trauma instead. He flinched. I would have stayed, he said. If I'd known about the pregnancy. You didn't, I interrupted. And I didn't chase you because I refused to beg someone to care. Silence stretched between us, raw, uncomfortable. William exhaled slowly. I won't ask you to trust me immediately. Good, I muttered, because I don't. But I will ask you, he continued, to let me try. I studied him, the man who saved my son's life, the alpha who vanished 5 years ago, the doctor who just publicly bared his throat to protect us. Trying usually ends with disappointment, I said. Then I'll endure that, he replied. Damn him. It happened quietly, no dramatic music, no thunder. Just a moment where neither of us stepped back. William reached out, slowly, and stopped inches from my face. May I? He asked. The question shattered something in me, not demanded, not assumed, asked. I swallowed. I waited 5 years. I can wait 5 seconds. Okay, maybe 3. Yes, I whispered. His hand cupped my jaw, warm, steady, reverent. The kiss was gentle, almost hesitant, like he was afraid I'd disappear if he pressed too hard. It wasn't desperate. It wasn't claiming. It was real. My knees went weak, and then the world tilted. Oh, I murmured intelligently. That's all I remember saying before everything went dark before my eyes. I woke up to warmth, and arms, strong, careful, wrapped around me like I was something breakable. William sat on the bed, back against the headboard, holding me against his chest. One hand rubbed slow, grounding circles into my back. You fainted, he said quietly. Rude of me, I muttered. He huffed a soft, breathless laugh and tightened his hold just a fraction. You're exhausted, he said. You haven't eaten properly in days. I was busy, I replied, nearly losing my kid. Minor distraction. His arms tightened. I've got you, he said. Both of you. I shifted slightly, my head resting against his shoulder. "Careful," I murmured. "You're making promises again." "I know," he replied, "and I mean them." I closed my eyes. "For now," he added gently, "let me take care of you. No claims, no cages, just stay." I breathed him in, clean, familiar, safe. "I'm not agreeing to forever," I said. "I'm agreeing to try," he said. Silence settled. Then I whispered, "Okay." His arms tightened around me, not possessive, protective. Outside the room, the world waited to judge. Inside, we chose. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone. Cliffhanger. We choose to try. The first time William tried to change a diaper, I nearly called the hospital. Not for Noah, for William. He stood in the middle of my apartment. My apartment, because we were not calling this cohabiting, thank you very much, staring down at the open diaper bag like it was a live bomb. "This one?" he asked, holding up a wipe. "That's a wipe," I confirmed. "And this," he continued, lifting a diaper, "is decorative?" "No," I said patiently. "That's the diaper. It goes on the child." He frowned. "Why are there tabs?" "So it stays on." "So the child doesn't escape?" "Yes." William nodded solemnly like this was valuable military intelligence. Noah lay on the couch between us, legs kicking happily. "Papa?" he said cheerfully. William froze. I smirked. "Congratulations, you've been promoted." William swallowed. "I don't want to do this incorrectly." "You will," I replied. "Parenting is 90% doing things incorrectly and hoping your kid survives to complain about it later." He glanced at me. "You're not reassuring." "Good. Builds character." He knelt carefully, like one wrong move might summon judgment from the universe. He positioned the diaper under Noah with surgical precision. Then, put it on backward. I watched, waited, let it happen. "How did you save lives but lose a battle with a diaper?" "No," I said gently. "Other way." He blinked. "That was the other way." "No," I repeated. "That was chaos." William sighed deeply. "This is more stressful than surgery." "That's because surgery doesn't scream at you or poop mid-procedure." Noah chose that moment to giggle. William stared at him, horrified and awed. He laughed. "Yes," I said. "That means he likes you." William's expression softened instantly. Then the diaper leaked. "Oh," he said faintly. I patted his shoulder. "Welcome to fatherhood." By the end of the week, William had learned 3 important things. Children are sticky. Silence is suspicious. Nothing in medicine prepares you for bedtime negotiations. Noah refused to sleep unless William read the same book 3 times. "The dragon doesn't sound sad enough," Noah complained. William cleared his throat and tried again, voice deeper, more dramatic. I watched from the doorway, arms crossed, pretending not to feel anything. He was good at this, not perfect, not polished, but present. When Noah finally drifted off, William sat there for a long moment, just watching him breathe. "He's beautiful," he whispered. I snorted. "He looks like he lost a fight with a pillow." William smiled. The emotional damage occurred on a Tuesday. Because of course it did. I was making dinner, burning something mildly, while William helped Noah build a tower out of blocks that absolutely could not support itself. Noah knocked it over and laughed. William laughed with him. Real laughter, unguarded. Then Noah tilted his head and said casually, "Appa cries less when you're here." The room went dead silent. Noah continued, "But when you are here, he is happy." My hand froze over the stove. William froze. Noah, oblivious, continued stacking blocks. "Oh, great. The child brought emotional artillery." William swallowed. "Does he?" Noah nodded seriously. "Yeah, he used to cry in the bathroom." Quiet. I closed my eyes. Traitorous little... William stood slowly. He walked toward